often the phrase "defending the best interests of the child" is invoked to do all of these awful things. But I had a thought that this phrase it's almost like saying defending freedom. Freedom is a word that means many different things to different people, and everyone in the world supports freedom, properly defined, of course. They support their version of freedom. And when, like all of us, doesn't matter of your political orientation, who you vote for, what you believe on different issues, we all want to protect children and see them grow up happy and healthy. But the way it's interpreted is, if you look at people's actions, there's often interests behind that. So in the legal profession, it's the money that can be made through no-fault divorce by saying, oh, we're doing this for the children, but really they're doing it to increase their own practice and their billing and their fees. And it doesn't really help children. In fact, it does the opposite, as you pointed out in your book. The judges, the lawyers, the social workers think they're acting in the best interest of children, when in reality, they're exposing them to potentially higher violence and abuse. They are also depriving them of the benefits of an intact family, which have been well documented in research. And they're setting up their life for a more compromised adult life compared to a child that remains with their family. So the whole thing is really just it's a whole bundle of lies and myths and illusions that is starting to unravel. I believe that enough people have realized, because it's happened either to themselves or to a friend or to a relative. Somebody got totally decimated in a divorce and custody battle, that people are waking up. It's just that there's so many entrenched vested interests to fight against, namely the bar associations and the feminist activist groups, that it's a difficult battle.
No, that's very true. Yes, and as you say, there are these highly cynical slogans and catchwords that sound innocuous or sound benign, but they are in fact very cynical and very destructive, like the best interest of the child. I mean, it's the very concept is a violation of parental rights, because traditionally parents decided the best interest of their own children, and there's decades and decades of American Supreme Court decisions that have reaffirmed that principle. And you can go back to the English common law before that. Parents decide what is the best interest of their children, unless they've done something very serious to forfeit that right. So when you the very act of invoking that phrase, the best interest of the child, which is completely meaningless, but it transfers from the parents to the judges and other state officials the power, the prerogative to decide what that is. And in any given moment, it can be whatever the judge says it is. There's no way of defining the best interest of the child, and it's never been defined. It just means the judge decides what's good for the children. And generally, it's the judge decides what's good for himself, his cronies, and for the bar associations, which appoint him and control his promotion and his reappointment. So yes, this couldn't be. This is the absolute height of cynicism and hypocrisy. I don't believe this is the result of caution in the least, because as you point out, there's if you're talking about accusations of criminality, whether it's child abuse or domestic violence or any of these abuses, there are criminal courts that exist for sorting this sort of thing out, this kind of thing out. So if someone is accused of a crime, child abuse, domestic violence, physical assault of any kind, it should be transferred to a criminal court. It should be tried in a criminal court. It should be tried according to criminal standards of evidence and, of course, due process of law and protections for the rights of the accused. But none of this happens in family court. The children, because this is not the purpose of it, the children are simply seized. The judge seizes control of the children. And when even in the absence of accusations like domestic violence or child abuse, simply the very act of filing for divorce, the first thing a judge does, the very first thing when the case comes into the court, the mother typically says, I'm filing for divorce. The very first act of the judge is to seize control of the children, and to remove the children from the care and protection of the father and the mother, the parents, and to place the child effectively as a ward of the court. Because until that happens, the court has no authority. As long as the family's intact, as long as there's a father, the court have no rationalization for existing or for entering the case. So the first thing they do is remove the children, from the father's care and protection. From that point on, for the rest of their childhood, it is up to the father to, the burden of proof falls on the father to justify why he should be given his children back. There's no burden of proof on the judge to justify why they are removing the child from one or both parents. So this is outrageous. It starts right there with the presumption of guilt, and this is the point at which the judges need to be controlled. They have no right to do that, to simply remove children from the care and protection of innocent parents. If a mother comes into a court or a parent comes into a court and says, "I'm filing for divorce, I want sole custody," the proper response of the judge is to say, "You're not getting it until you prove that there's some reason. The burden of proof is on you to show why I should remove custody from the other parent." And by the way, let me just add, sometimes the roles are reversed. Sometimes this does happen to mothers. Sometimes it's the father bringing the case, and the mother is the one who is victimized by this. So, it does happen. The mothers in those cases almost never get any protection from the feminist organizations who defend this system. And it's usually because the father has some connection with the legal industry, lawyer or judge, something like that.